We're going to start out with our first guest, and that would be Linda Parker, who is sitting right next to me, and beyond her is Jennifer Dwire. And we're going to be talking about student aid. And oh my, it's not too early, is it?
No, actually, it's the time that you should be completing your aid applications is
Oh my
right
goodness.
now.
And that's for next fall.
That's for students who are current seniors in high school who are thinking about enrolling in college in September. Now is the time that they should be completing their financial aid applications.
Do you get your financial aid application before you decide what college you're going to, or what happens?
Well, essentially, you should be completing your admission application
Okay.
and your financial aid applications at the same time.
So by now you should know what college you're headed for.
Absolutely. Most
Okay.
of the admission application deadlines have passed. Financial aid deadlines are typically around February 1st, February 15th, March 1st at the very latest.
Okay.
So now's the time to really be completing those applications.
Okay, now what do you do, Jennifer? I mean, not personally, but I mean, what does your your corporation do?
We are New York State Student Financial Aid Administration, and the effort that we're involved in right now is a 4-week campaign to raise awareness about financial aid and access to college.
Yeah, and you have a website too that's kind of
do.
interesting. It says, where I wrote it down here somewhere,
Start here, get there. .org. And
Yeah.
what people will find on the website are tips and tools for filing the free application for federal student aid. It's referred to as the FAFSA, and that's actually the gateway form to all types of college financing. We also will be hosting every Wednesday until the end of February a toll-free hotline where a real person will answer the phone.
I saw that. That's really
Yep.
very interesting.
Yep.
Can we bring that up, Greg? Or did he bring it up yet? There was a flyer that we had.
And the phone number will be 1-800-808-1790. It'll be staffed every Wednesday from noon to 6 p.m. You can call in, and if you have questions about the information needed on the free application for federal student aid, we'll have staff who can answer your questions. And the email address you just saw to get help via email. It's very important. People have to file the form, as Linda indicated. If financial aid officers do not have the information from the FAFSA form, they have no way to offer financial aid to the families. And we're talking everything from grants, entitlements, scholarships, and student loans.
Now, a lot of kids are thinking, well, I'm going to go to school, go to college, and maybe some are still kind of not sure. You know how that goes.
Yeah, sure.
Would they contact your agency first, Jennifer, or would they go to the college and go to Linda over at Union College and say, I want to come to Union and I've been accepted, but I don't know what to do about finances? Are you there to help them?
We absolutely are. I think financial aid officers at all colleges and universities are there to help students navigate this process and to make sure that they are being considered for any of the grants, scholarships, loans, any type of assistance to help them to make college an affordable option for families. One thing I'd recommend for all families thinking about the college process is to check the websites of the different colleges that you're interested in, because they certainly provide a lot of detailed information about the application process, the deadline dates, the scholarship and grant opportunities that are available at each individual school. And so that's important because that can really vary from school to school. And so it's important for students to just kind of get an idea of what are the application requirements at this particular school that I'm interested in versus maybe a state university has some different requirements. Yeah, so and as Jennifer mentioned, the FAFSA is essentially the standard application used by all colleges to determine federal aid eligibility. It's also used by some schools to determine their own institutional grant and state eligibility resources. However, some of the higher cost private schools may require additional applications. For example, we at Union will ask for the CSS profile, and that's really just an additional application to determine the student's institutional scholarship eligibility, and many private schools will also have that requirement. So again, I guess the point is that the application requirements are going to vary from school to school. So check really websites, call the folks in the financial aid office.
You've used a number of terms here. You've talked about grants, you've talked about loans, loans are paid back, of course.
With interest.
With interest. But the interest doesn't start until they graduate, or does it start right at the get-go?
It really depends on what type of financial aid that you're offered. Grants and scholarships are the key terms to hone in on. Those do not need to be paid back, and the colleges will label them very clearly on the award letter they send to the family.
So you have a $2,000 scholarship.
Pell Grant or a $5,000 scholarship.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Student loans, if it is a subsidized federal direct student loan, interest will not accrue while the student's in college, but they really need to pay attention to what type of loan they have. If it's unsubsidized, then interest will accrue while they're in college. And the basic premise that Linda and I want to make sure everyone understands is there's help in understanding these terms. And anyone can call the hotline, they can call the financial aid office
They
to
can call
make
you
sure
to find out
they can
what
call us.
exactly is this.
Right, and we want to make sure that when the family gets that personalized award letter delivered to them and they're looking at it, they do understand all the terminology on that award letter. But very important to know, loans must be repaid.
The other thing that a lot of students and maybe parents are not aware of, if there are many organizations that give grants, scholarships. How do they find out about those? I mean, like, I know the Italian Community Center might give one, or the Polish Community Center, or the Greek such and such, or, you know, the NAACP. I mean, there's a number of...
There are a number of outside scholarships. Typically, a lot of students find out about them from either their high school guidance office, their local community, if they're involved in church, community kinds of activities, community service. They may find out through those venues. And then in some instances, their parents' employer may have scholarship opportunities for students who are enrolling in college. So there's a lot of different places. They're not all in one place, so you really have to be a little bit creative, and you have to really work hard. You have to work for them. Yes,
exactly.
You do.
Now, there's usually some kind of connection if they don't pay their loan back. In other words, there's a penalty. So it's important for them to know this is not a giveaway. You have to pay your loans back.
Right. Student loans are a very important part of college financing, but it's also a very long-term commitment that you make when you take a student loan. Many of the loans have 10, 15, 20-year repayment terms, and that's once you get out of college. If you don't...
Should you pay them off as quickly as possible?
It's always a good idea. Most of the student loans available, certainly the ones through the federal government and through the state entity, there are no prepayment penalties. So if you can, when you graduate, take some of that graduation money and pay down the principal on your loan, you will get ahead.
That's a good idea. You mean you don't go to the Bahamas?
Don't go to the Bahamas. Bahamas are lovely, but not with your student loan money. The thing is that currently, under current law, student loans are not dischargeable if you file bankruptcy.
That's what I understood.
No student loan is dischargeable, which means that you're going to keep this debt. Your wages can be garnished, your income tax return can be seized, all of those things can happen to you. You'll be liable for the payments and the penalties and the court fees if someone decides to sue you to get the money back. It's a very big commitment.
So you can't blow this loan away.
You cannot. And there are repayment programs available. One of the other things that HESC can help you with is navigating the repayment plans that are available. You can get income contingent, income sensitive. There are a lot of options on the table, but it is not going to go away, and you really need to reach out and get some assistance to take advantage of one of those options.
Great. So you're learning a little bit more. It's a primer 101 loans, I guess we'd call this, financial aid. Check with the colleges, of course, give them a call on Wednesdays, and that number was up on the screen. You can also go to my website and check out the newsletter. That number will be there. We'll make sure it gets up there. And you'll be able to get that information. And if you have, grandkids or kids that are going to be going to college, in the junior year, it's still not too early to start exploring some of the things that you may have to go through. And I would, as a parent, I would suggest that you involve your kids in this, in the search and everything. I mean, don't just take it upon yourself to do all the work. They need to know.
I like to remind families that this is part of the college education process.
Yeah, it is.
You need to get them involved. They need to know how they're paying for their education. It's a shame to graduate someone with a 4-year degree that's not really sure how they paid for it, because then when it comes to a car or a home, they've missed out on all of that education that could have been shared with them on how they got through college, because this is really a life lesson. It's a life skill, and it really is becoming a good consumer.
Good. Great. Thank you. We've been talking with Jennifer Dwire and also Linda Parker.